Hello everybody, Ellie here for WhoCulture and Happy New Year! I don't know if any of you noticed, but there may or may not have been a Christmas special this year, or last year. The Church on Ruby Road, and as you may have seen, we did do an ups and downs review and a spoiler discussion for that episode, but because it was the Christmas week, we were slightly limited in how many videos we could produce, but we're back now, so let's get into the Easter eggs for the Church on Ruby Road. Number 24. Now, for viewers that are outside of the UK, you may have been a bit confused, but Deena Mol is an actual real-life English TV presenter. This wasn't a fictional character, and she does actually work on a TV show called Long Lost Family. And on that show, they work to reunite separated relatives, and they have a part of that which is focused around foundlings and locating birth families. So that was really nice to see this actual TV show within Doctor Who. And interestingly, this is not the first time that Deena Mol has actually been in Doctor Who, but all the way back in Series 1, Deena Mol was the voice of the Big Brother house in Bad Wolf. She was the Davina droid, so she has actually been in the show before.
Big Brother house, this is Davina droid.
Number 23. Now, as many viewers have spotted, the lady in the bar where Ruby is performing a concert with her friends was actually played, or seems to have been played, by the same actress who played Mrs. Merridew in Wild Blue Yonder. I checked the actress's Spotlight profile, which is basically like an actor's CV, and the only 2023 credit that she had on there was confidential. The production was confidential, the role was confidential, the director was confidential. If she was only playing a character who was unnamed and had one line in the Christmas special, or a very minor character in the form of Mrs. Merridew, why is it so confidential? Which leads everybody, including myself, to believe this reoccurring face is going to be more important than we actually realise at the moment. Now, is she the mysterious figure that we saw on the cliff top in the trailer for the upcoming season? Who knows? But just to add the cherry on top, the actress's name is Susan Twist. I would not put it past Russell T Davies to cast an actress based on her name alone. Susan speaks for itself. Twist. If this is somehow Susan, you heard it here first. That's all I'm saying. Number 22. Now, when Ruby is in the club, she comments on how the Doctor has managed to get from the dance floor to her side very, very quickly. And this is not the first time that we've seen the Doctor move in this kind of quick, snappy way. In the episode Listen, the 12th Doctor is talking to Reg. Reg turns around, and when he turns back, the Doctor is gone, and he's nicked his cup of coffee as well. The other possibility surrounding this is that this is multiple incarnations of, or multiple timelines of the 15th Doctor. It makes me think of Series 5, where we had the 11th Doctor, and it turns out that this is actually two versions of the Doctor, so it wouldn't be a bit surprising if when we circle to the end of series, or season 1, we revisit these locations and we realise that this is two different versions of the 15th Doctor. Number 21. So the Doctor uses the psychic paper in this episode. This is the 15th Doctor's debut moment of the psychic paper, but viewers who were watching on Disney Plus, for example, who may not be familiar with the show's past, might have been a bit confused as to why suddenly someone believed him because he showed them a blank piece of paper. Basically, the psychic paper shows someone whatever the Doctor wants it to show them, and it debuted in the 2005 episode The End of the World, and every Doctor since then has used the psychic paper at some point. Now, there was a scene explaining the psychic paper in the Church on Ruby Road, but it was cut for timing reasons, so if you were confused, there was the intention of explaining it, but they decided against it. Number 20, the Snowman Scene. Now, Manchester in the UK is very famous for its giant Santas that go on display every Christmas, and this snowman was directly influenced by those Santas that we have in Manchester. Number 19, and speaking of that snowman scene, the building, the shop that snowman is attached to, the location for that is the same location that was used for the exterior of Henrik's, which was the shop that Rose Tyler worked in back in the 2005 revival first episode. There's nothing to say that this isn't the same shop in universe. I mean, there's nothing to say that it is either. Maybe it's been rebuilt since the Doctor blew it up in Rose, and this is the same shop. Who knows? Could be. Number 18. So we got the first appearance of the 15th Doctor's new sonic screwdriver in this episode, and though it's not very clear in the episode itself, there is a really cool Easter egg little nod to Ncuti Gatwa's life within the design of the sonic screwdriver. So there is a Rwandan proverb that is inscribed in the middle of the screwdriver, and it translates to, "The sharpness of the tongue defeats the sharpness of the warrior." So this was just a really lovely way of incorporating something personal to the actor into the character, and just that extra level of detail and attention to detail. Number 17. Now, we don't quite know the significance of it yet, but Triad has been mentioned a couple of times already in the past few episodes. And on the side of the double-decker bus, we have an advert for Triad Technology. As I said, at the moment, we don't know the significance of it, but we know that we are going to be seeing more of it, so I would keep your eyes peeled for any further information. To me, I think it's going to be a similar situation to the Atmos that we had in Series 4, so keep your eyes peeled, I guess. Number 16. When Ruby gets off of the bus, she walks down a street called MTO Road. Now, MTO Road has been mentioned in the Whoniverse before, so if you go all the way back to Series 1, again, the 2005 revival, Mickey asks Jackie, "Have you tried that new pizza place on MTO Road?" If we also skip ahead in the episode, when the timelines have been changed and all the photos disappear from the fridge, what takes its place is a pizza menu, a takeaway menu for the pizza place on MTO Road. I love the attention to detail. Number 15. Now, I don't know if anybody else noticed, but again, along Ruby's street, both Ruby and Mrs. Flood's doors, front doors, are a different shade of blue. Specifically, they look kind of Tardis blue-like. Obviously, Amy and Rory's house also had a blue door, but in this instance, there may be more significance to these blue doors than we initially realised. So in the official Doctor Who Annual 2024, Russell T Davies teased that these doors may be more significant, or at least the colour of these front doors. So who knows what that could mean? Are you going to walk through Mrs. Flood's door and suddenly that whole building's going to be bigger on the inside? I'm excited to find out. Number 14. So another detail that was mentioned on the episode commentary. The staircase for Ruby's flat is actually a reused set, and if you look really carefully, you'll realise that that staircase is the same staircase used for the set of Donna's house in the 60th anniversary specials. Number 13. Now, Russell T Davies seems to have a habit of killing people with Christmas trees in his Christmas specials. I mean, if you think all the way back to his first Christmas special, we had the killer Christmas tree and the Christmas invasion that span around, and Jackie Tyler going, "I'm gonna get killed by a Christmas tree!" In this episode, it's not only the tree that's falling towards Deena Mol, but it's the star that's actually the kind of killer element of the tree. Does anyone remember the killer Christmas star that we saw in The Runaway Bride? It all links together, people. Number 12, and speaking of things that link together, the moment that Ruby is hanging from the sky on this flimsy ladder, did anyone else think of Rose Tyler hanging from the rope in the Empty Child and the Doctor Dances? Well, in The Empty Child. So many connections, and Russell T Davies was obviously the showrunner for both instances, so it could very well have been another cheeky nod there. Number 11. Now, if you were, for some strange reason, watching the Christmas special and haven't seen the 60th anniversary episodes, then when the Doctor says the word Mavity, you might have been a bit confused. But in While Blue Yonder, the 14th Doctor and Donna travelled back, met Isaac Newton, and altered history by changing the word gravity to Mavity.
Mavity.
To be honest, I'm quite glad that they're sticking with this gag, and the fact that they're sticking with it and it keeps getting mentioned makes me think that it's going to be very significant and relevant further down the line, beyond being just a gag. For example, Mrs. Flood accidentally says the word gravity instead of Mavity, and suddenly the Doctor realises that she's not who she seems to be. She's not who she appears to be, because she knows the previous term and she shouldn't. Number 10, when the Doctor and Ruby are tied up on the ship and then the Doctor manages to escape the ropes, he says that he spent a long hot summer with Harry Houdini. Now, Houdini's actually been mentioned in Doctor Who a few times. In Revenge of the Cybermen, the 4th Doctor says that he picked up some grommets from Houdini, and then in The Witchfinders, the 13th Doctor says that she spent a weekend with Houdini, and that's how she managed to escape the chains that she was being held in. Houdini and the Doctor. Maybe that's an episode we need to see. Or should it be kept a mystery? Number 9. So then we meet the goblins, and the Doctor calls the blonde goblin that sings Janice. Now this is actually a reference to Janice from The Muppets, who's a very musical Muppet, and she also has blonde hair. So just to clear it up, it is not, as many people believed, a play on Janis Joplin. Janice Goblin, Janis Joplin. Although Russell T Davies did kind of post on Instagram after that speculation was made saying that he preferred that reference and he was going to claim it. So, well done fans, I guess. Number 8. But speaking of the goblin names, there are some other goblin names in the band that are puns. So I'm going to list them off. We've got Pixie Knot, which is obviously a play on Pixie Lot. We've got Ralph McTelf, which is a pun on the English folk singer Ralph McTell. Brian Ferry, who is obviously a nod to the pop rock singer Brian Ferry. And we've got Gob Dylan, which clearly is a reference to Bob Dylan. I like these little puns. They're funny. Number 7. So the Doctor mentions that he was also adopted, which is obviously a reference to the Timeless Child story arc. The Doctor was kind of found at the edge of this mysterious portal and was taken in by Tecteun. But it was nice to see this connection between the Doctor being a foundling, Ruby being a foundling, and I think that this will be explored further as the series progresses. Number 6. So I'm not sure if this is something that was intentionally done by Russell T Davies, but in the commentary for the episode, producer Chris May said that the idea of Ruby disappearing and there being this sort of what-if timeline is actually a very Christmassy plot device. If you think about It's a Wonderful Life, where George Bailey is kind of shown a timeline where he doesn't exist. If you think about A Christmas Carol, where we have the different ghosts, but particularly the ghost of Christmas Future and all of that timeline stuff happening. It's actually quite strange, but Ruby vanishing from history is actually quite a Christmassy vibe, actually. And of course, within Doctor Who, the crack through the house does seem very much like Series 5, where we had the cracks in the bedroom wall that made people disappear from history. So whether that was intentional or not, who knows. Number 5. So here's a little costume detail. Did anyone else notice that the Doctor's hair has a tinge of blue to it? We know from a video released where Ncuti Gatwa was breaking down his character's costume that this is actually a thing and there is actually blue tint in the Doctor's hair, but it's very subtle. And again, it just feels like another point of the actor influencing the character slightly, because I feel like that may well have been something that Ncuti Gatwa himself may have suggested and that they were on board with. Number 4. So earlier we mentioned that there was the Minto Pizza flyer on the fridge when the pictures of the children disappear, but there was another flyer on the fridge which was a card for Crossgate Cabs. And Crossgate Cabs have also appeared in Doctor Who before, in the 2007 episode The Sound of Drums, where the Doctor is on the phone to the Master. Places that seem insignificant at the time still just keep popping up here and there, and these are the details that I like to point out. Number 3. Now, the Goblin King getting spiked through the chin wasn't, as many people believed, an homage to Hot Fuzz. I still believe that it was. But in fact, an homage to the Little Mermaid, where Ursula gets spiked by the ship in the ocean. Now, Russell T Davies said, in the Little Mermaid, you kind of work out what's going to happen to Ursula just a few seconds before it actually happens, and that was what he was intending to do here with the church spire and the Goblin King. But I don't care what anyone says. I did not look at that scene and go, oh, it's like the Little Mermaid. I looked at that scene and instantly went, huh, it just got hot fuzzed. Number 2. So when Ruby steps into the Tardis for the first time, she immediately steps out of the Tardis and walks all the way around the outside of it. Now on the commentary, Russell T Davies said that this is the first time that someone has done this since Rose Tyler did it back in 2005. And interestingly, that was his other first companion. But that's not actually true, because Clara did it in the 2012 Christmas special, so your facts are wrong, mate. And number 1, the mid-credit scene. Now, this is not the first time that we've seen this in Doctor Who, but it's certainly not a common occurrence. So we did have one in the 2021 episode Village of the Angels, with Vinda searching for Belle. Then we also had one in Death in Heaven as well, which then led directly into the 2014 Christmas special. I do wonder whether this is something that we're going to see a little bit more of moving forward in the show, particularly because of the Disney Plus deal now, that kind of Marvel-esque vibe. We do seem to be falling into that Marvel kind of territory, and obviously Marvel films are famous for their post-credit, mid-credit scenes. So will we be seeing more of these? I don't know. Personally, I think if we have too many of them, it will stop being special, but we can but wait and see. Make sure that you do check out our Ups and Downs review of the episode and our spoiler discussion of the episode as well. I hope you have a wonderful 2024. We've got loads more coming for you. But in the meantime, I've been Ellie with WhoCulture, and in the words of River Song herself, goodbye, sweeties.